Chapter 10 of God Died at 3 o'clock by Reverend Gerald T. Brennan. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Recording by Maria Therese. Veronica. It is late morning, and the warm sun beats heavily upon the man with the cross. Every step is one of agony. The heavy cross, even though Simon helps with it, cuts his shoulders and makes him ache with pain. His face is dirty, his eyes swollen and red, and the crown of thorns digs deeply into his tender skin. Jesus Christ is a sad picture, suffering as no other man ever suffered. But he struggles on toward Calvary. He begs for no mercy. He expects no mercy. He walks through the streets with a prayer in his heart, a prayer that his Father will give him strength to finish the journey to Calvary. Most of the people who watch the suffering Christ seem cold-hearted. Only a few in the crowd feel sorry for him. Some of the women cannot bear the sight of the man of sorrows and turn away their heads. Others weep silently and want to help, but they are afraid. But there is one woman in the crowd who is not afraid. Her name is Veronica. Veronica sees Jesus and her heart goes out to him. Her first thought is to help, but what can she do? In an instant, a thought flashes through the woman's mind. Veronica forgets about the crowd. She forgets the soldiers and guards. She sees only Christ. Leaving the crowd, Veronica rushes into the street. She wipes Christ's blood-stained face with a white cloth. The guards shout angrily. They treat Veronica roughly and push her aside. The procession moves forward. Veronica, with tears in her eyes, watches Jesus disappear down the narrow street. As she turns to enter the house, she opens her cloth, and there on the cloth is a picture. It is the face of Christ. Then Veronica remembers that Jesus did not speak to her, but her piece of cloth is proof of his thanks for her act of kindness. The procession passes through the city gate and moves into the open country. It draws near Calvary. The way of the cross is almost finished. Once again Jesus stumbles and falls, but he does not remain on the ground very long. The soldiers pull him to his feet, push him, and urge him not to delay. Some of the women, feeling that the soldiers are too cruel, cry out against them, but the soldiers pay no attention to them. Jesus, however, is grateful. He knows that the women pity him, and he knows too that his sufferings are making them suffer. Turning to them, Jesus speaks kindly. "Do not weep for me," he says. "Weep for yourselves and for your children." What does Christ mean? Why should the women weep for themselves? Why should they weep for their children? Will the city of Jerusalem be cursed for this terrible day? Will God punish Jerusalem for the death of Christ? The women of Jerusalem wonder and continue to weep, and Christ passes on. As the procession draws near Calvary, the crowd becomes less noisy. They are tired from the walk in the hot sun. Christ, too, is tired. His feet and back are sore. His body is feverish and numb with pain. At last, Jesus reaches the small rocky mound of Calvary. Slowly he struggles to the top. The journey of the cross is over. Here on Calvary, Jesus stands waiting to offer his life for the sins of the world. Death will be a welcome escape for this tired man of sorrows. His death on the cross will be a sacrifice, a payment for the sins of the world. But already he has suffered so much. Even before reaching Calvary, Jesus has paid a costly price for the sins of men. Both Jews and Romans have raised their hands and voices against him. Women, as well as men, have called for his death. Kings and servants, rich and poor, have mocked him and laughed at him. Even his friends have caused him to suffer. Judas has betrayed him. Peter has denied him. Other friends have deserted him. His body has been torn and beaten with a cruel lash. His head has been crowned with thorns. His face has been soiled with blood. In shame and weakness, Christ has looked through swollen eyes to see the tears of his mother. Next will come the nails in his hands and his feet. The cross. This is the price of sin, the sins of the world. End of chapter 10.